My ex-girlfriend who cheated on me, a woman I almost proposed to, showed up years later, causing my current wife to leave me. Be me, 31-year-old Daniel, working long hours at corporate office in downtown Chicago, just about to take a late evening shower at 10:45 p.m., trying to wash away another exhausting day. Hear doorbell ring, strange time for visitors, too late to ignore it. Would keep wondering who it was all night if I didn't check. Open the door. My past literally staring back at me. Standing there is Amy, my ex-long-term girlfriend, who I was about to propose to. She's trembling, mascara running down her face in dark streaks. She's the ghost I finally managed to bury 5 years ago, the one who destroyed me by cheating when we were planning our future together. Seeing her hits like a punch to the gut. Stand there completely frozen. Feel 1,000 old wounds cracking open at once. Daniel, please, I need to talk to you, she whispers. Voice sounds hoarse like she's been crying for hours. She looks like a complete mess. Nothing like the confident, put-together Amy I remember. Mind racing with thoughts. Want to slam the door in her face? Tell her to get lost and take her tears somewhere else. But I don't. Something inside me, maybe the part that once loved her more than anything, steps aside and lets her in. Not sure why I did it. Maybe I'm just a fool. Or maybe I needed to know why she showed up like this. She sits on my leather couch. Can see her struggling to find words. Stay by the door. Keep my distance. Don't trust myself to get too close. Still remember how easily she could break me with just a look. That's when Sophia walks into the living room. My wife had been upstairs, probably getting ready for bed. No idea about the hurricane that just blew through our front door. Who's at the door, Daniel? Sophia asks. Then she sees Amy. Her face changes instantly. Flash of something between shock and pure disgust before she forces a smile. I hadn't even had time to tell her who Amy was. Why would I? That chapter of my life was supposed to be closed, locked away and buried deep. But there Amy was, her presence tearing open pages of a book I tried so hard to burn. Sophia's smile is cold as winter. She crosses her arms, leans against the doorframe. And what brings you here so late, Amy? She emphasizes the name, puts too much weight on it, like it's something bitter on her tongue. Suddenly realize how little Sophia actually knows about that part of my past. Only told her the basics. Nothing about the nights I spent crying after Amy left. Nothing about how completely shattered I'd been. Amy glances at me, her eyes wide and pleading, then looks back at Sophia. I need Daniel's help. She wipes her eyes, sniffling loudly. The sound is like fingernails on chalkboard. Sophia raises her eyebrows, clearly unimpressed. Oh, I'm sure it is, Sophia says. Her voice practically freezing the air. But whatever it is, I don't think it's Daniel's problem anymore, is it? She's staring directly at Amy, not even acknowledging my existence. There's tension in the air so thick you could cut it with a knife. Bitterness, jealousy, and something else. Something I can't quite place. Amy doesn't back down. She shakes her head, turns fully towards me, completely ignoring Sophia like she isn't even there. Daniel, please, I don't have anywhere else to go. I've messed up so badly. Her voice cracks. For a moment, I almost see the girl I used to love. The desperation in her eyes feels real, raw in a way I haven't seen in years. Sophia lets out a sharp laugh, bitter and mocking. Seriously? You come to our house in the middle of the night and expect him to drop everything for you after everything you did to him? She takes a step forward, can see the fire in her eyes. She's furious, maybe more than furious. She's threatened. Never seen Sophia like this before, not in all our time together. It's like the mask of calmness she always wears has shattered. Sophia I try to interject. But she cuts me off. No, Daniel. She doesn't get to come here and play victim. You don't owe her anything? Her words slice through the air. Amy flinches visibly, her face crumbling. She looks at me, tears welling up again. In that moment, I feel pulled in two directions. Amy is a reminder of the worst pain I've ever felt, but something in her eyes, some tiny spark of the past makes me pause. I just need to talk to Daniel alone, Amy says softly. Almost a whisper now. Please, Sophia. There's a challenge in her voice, something I don't quite understand. Sophia stares at her, then at me, can see the silent question in her eyes. Whose side are you on? This is the moment that splits everything open. Can feel the ground shifting under me. The past clawing its way back to the present. Have to decide whether to hold on to Sophia or let Amy's ghosts pull me back under. I stand there, caught between two hurricanes, one in tears, one in fury. It's like some twisted nightmare. Can't shake myself awake. Amy's desperate eyes lock onto mine, pleading, while Sophia's stare, mix of anger and disbelief, drills into the side of my head. Feel like a spectator in my own life, watching the chaos unfold. Daniel! Sophia's voice breaks the silence, cutting through my indecision like a knife. Are you seriously considering letting her stay here? Her words drip with mixture of incredulity and disgust. Can't just tell Amy to leave? Not like that. As much as I hate myself for it, there's still a part of me that can't ignore her. When she's standing there broken, looking more fragile than I've ever seen her, have 1,000 questions boiling inside. Why now? Why me? What did she think she'd find here? But no, I won't get the answers if I don't let her speak. Sophia, I just need a minute to figure this out, I say. Try to keep my voice calm. Though my hands are trembling at my sides, Sophia narrows her eyes, her gaze darkening. Like I just betrayed her. She lets out a scoff, shaking her head. Wow, okay, I see how it is, she snaps. Without another word, she turns on her heel, storms up the stairs, her footsteps echoing sharply through the house. Every thud feels like a countdown to something terrible. The bedroom door slams. The walls seem to tremble in response. Amy lets out a shaky breath. I turn back to face her. The living room feels too small, suffocating. You've got 5 minutes, Amy, I say. My voice comes out harsher than intended, but can't help it. The tension, the confusion, the look in Sophia's eyes. It's all eating at me, clawing at my insides. Amy nods, her eyes red and raw. She clasps her hands together. For a moment, she's quiet, just staring at the floor, like she's trying to gather her thoughts. Daniel, I know I don't deserve anything from you. I know what I did back then. Leaving you, everything. I know it was unforgivable, she starts, her voice cracking, but I have nowhere else to go. I left him. I blink. A bitter laugh escapes before I could stop it. Left who, Amy? Can't keep the sarcasm out of my voice. The guy you cheated on me with? The one you left me for? Her eyes flinch at the words. She looks down, shame painting her features. Yes, she whispers. Connor, we got married. And for a while I thought I was happy. But then things got bad. He started drinking, getting violent. I didn't have anyone to turn to, Daniel. Her voice breaks, tears spill over again, running down her face unchecked. She looks so different now, so unlike the Amy I once knew, the Amy who used to be so sure of herself, so unbreakable. Take a deep breath, trying to push down the surge of emotions her words brought up. Remember Connor, the guy who showed up at our housewarming party? The one she swore was just a friend. Remember how she looked at him when she thought I wasn't watching? The way they'd laugh at some inside joke while I stood on the outside? The memory tastes like ash now. The rage bubbles up, threatening to spill over. So you thought what? You'd come here and I'd just take you back in? Say the words sharper than I meant them to be, Amy winces. For a moment, I almost regret saying it. Almost. No, I didn't. I know you won't forgive me. I know that, she pauses, her voice cracking with every word. But I had nowhere else to go. I just need a place to stay. For a few days, until I figure things out. She looks up at me, her eyes filled with something I hadn't seen in her before. Something raw, broken. But before I could respond, there's a loud noise from upstairs, a door slamming again. Then Sophia's voice, sharp and angry. She's coming back down, and she isn't alone. She's dragging a suitcase. My stomach drops. Sophia, what the hell are you doing? I call out. But she doesn't stop. She reaches the bottom of the stairs, her face a storm of fury and heartbreak. She doesn't even look at Amy, her eyes fixed on me, blazing with anger that cuts straight to my core. What am I doing? She says, her voice dripping with venom. I'm leaving, Daniel. Clearly you've got unfinished business here. She gestures at Amy, her hand shaking. I'm not going to sit around while you play hero for her. The words hit me like a slap. Sophia, wait, this isn't, I start. But she cuts me off with a raised hand. No, Daniel. I've spent years loving you, trusting you, and you can't even choose me over a woman who destroyed you once. Her voice wavers just for a moment, before she swallows and sets her jaw again. I'm not going to be second place in my own marriage. Amy sits silently, her eyes darting between us, tears still streaming down her cheeks. Can feel my world coming apart at the seams. Sophia is leaving, and Amy is here, and I don't know how to fix any of it. Had thought the worst was over 5 years ago, when Amy left me, but standing there, watching Sophia roll her suitcase towards the door, realized that the worst is happening right now. Sophia, please? Just give me a chance to explain, I plead. Stepping towards her, but she shakes her head, her expression resolute. You already made your choice, Daniel? And with that, she turns, opens the door, and walks out, the sound of the door slamming shut behind her, echoing through the silence. It's the sound of everything I know falling apart. Amy sits on the couch, still crying softly. All I can do is stand there, staring at the door Sophia just walked out of. Everything feels surreal. Like I'm trapped in someone else's nightmare. Had wanted answers, but all I have now is more questions, more pain, and the woman who caused it all, sitting right in front of me, needing me once again. I stand there, frozen, staring at the door Sophia slammed shut. The house suddenly feels emptier, like all the warmth has been sucked out in an instant. The silence left behind by her departure is unbearable. Turn back to Amy, still sitting on my couch, her face streaked with tears, her shoulders hunched, a ghost of everything I used to love. And now somehow the catalyst for everything crumbling around me again. You need to leave, I say, my voice breaking through the thick tension. Amy looks up, her eyes wide, almost like she can't comprehend what I just said. Daniel, please. I don't have anywhere to go, she whispers, her voice trembling. She looks vulnerable, like she's barely holding herself together. For a moment, the pity tries to reach me, but I push it away. Had given Amy so much pity before, so much forgiveness. And all it got me was years of trying to piece myself back together. Sophia was right. I don't owe Amy anything. Not anymore. You need to leave, Amy, I repeat. More firmly this time. Can feel my hands trembling. Try to steady them by shoving them into my pockets. Her face crumples. She starts to shake her head, more tears welling up in her eyes. Please, Daniel. Just give me tonight. Just tonight to figure things out, she begs, her voice cracking with desperation. I don't know where else to go. And Connor, he'll come looking for me. He's not safe, Daniel. I'm scared. Her words hang heavy in the air. Despite every instinct screaming at me to turn her away, a small part of me hesitates. Fear. Real fear. It's the one thing I can still recognize in her. That might be genuine. Let out a long breath. Run my hands through my hair. Fine, I mutter. One night, that's it. No, I'm probably making a mistake again. But something about the way she spoke, her eyes wide and frantic, made me falter, not willing to throw her back into the arms of a man who might hurt her. Despite everything, I'm not that kind of person. Can't just turn my back on someone in real danger. Amy nods, can see the relief wash over her, her shoulders slumping, as she wipes her tears away with back of her hand. Thank you, she says, her voice barely a whisper. But I don't respond, just turn away from her, suddenly exhausted. The weight of everything pressing down on me like a boulder. Need space, need air, move to the kitchen. Leaving Amy alone in the living room, need something. Water, distraction, anything. To keep myself from breaking down. Grab a glass, fill it at the sink. Take a long drink. Trying to drown the ache inside me. My thoughts keep drifting back to Sophia. The way she'd looked at me, like she'd already made up her mind. Like I'd let her down in the worst possible way. Can't blame her. Had stood there useless. Torn between a woman who had ruined me once, and the woman who had tried to build me back up, and I had failed both of them. Suddenly hear footsteps behind me. Turn to see Amy standing in the doorway of the kitchen. She looks lost, her eyes red from crying, her body almost shivering with nerves. She's still that perfect mix of beautiful and broken. The kind of image that used to pull at my heartstrings, but now it just leaves me feeling hollow. Daniel, I really am sorry, she says softly. For everything. I know I've messed up so much, and I know I don't deserve anything from you. She pauses, her voice trembling as she speaks. But I didn't know where else to go. You're the only person I've ever known. Who's kind enough to even give me a chance? Kind? I let out a bitter laugh. Amy, if I were kind, I wouldn't be here with you right now. I'd be with my wife, trying to convince her not to leave me because of you. The words spill out before I can stop them, the anger bubbling up and over. Slam the glass down onto the counter, the sound echoing harshly through the kitchen. Amy flinches, can see her eyes widen, tears threatening to spill again. Daniel, No, Amy, just stop, I snap. Cutting her off, can feel my chest tightening. All the emotions I've kept bottled up for years, threatening to erupt. You don't get to come back here and act like you care. You don't get to show up out of nowhere and blow my life apart because yours isn't working out. She stares at me, stunned into silence. For a moment, the room feels deathly quiet. Take a deep breath, trying to steady myself, trying to swallow down the anger and grief. But then she takes a step towards me, her hand reaching out as if to touch me. I take a step back. Don't, I say, my voice low, almost a growl. You don't get to do that, Amy. Not anymore. She drops her hand, her eyes filling with fresh tears. I know I've hurt you, and I know I don't deserve anything from you. But I'm really truly scared, Daniel. I don't have anyone else. There it is again, the vulnerability, the desperation, the exact same look she gave me when she told me she needed to leave 5 years ago, the exact same look she had When she walked out of our life to be with someone else, shake my head. Turn away from her, unable to look at her face any longer. You can stay tonight, I say. My voice hollow, exhausted. But you need to leave in the morning. I mean it. Can hear her sniffle. Hear the soft, shaky, thank you, she whispers. But I don't respond. Walk past her, out of the kitchen. Into the hallway. Away from her, away from the memories that are threatening to pull me under again. Make my way upstairs, each step feeling heavier than the last, until I reach the door to our bedroom. The door Sophia slammed shut moments ago. Open it and step inside. Everything is as she left it. The open closet, the empty hangers where her clothes used to be, the mess of shoes she pulled out in her rush to pack. Sink down onto the edge of the bed, the weight of everything finally crashing down on me. The room still smells like her, and that's the hardest part. The reminder that she had been here, and that now she was gone. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to bring her back. And downstairs, Amy is still there, a ghost I let back into my life, tearing apart everything I tried to build since she left. Don't sleep that night. Sit on the edge of the bed until the moonlight fades and dawn begins to creep in through the curtains. My thoughts are a whirlwind, mix of Sophia's angry face, Amy's pleading eyes, and the relentless question I can't seem to answer. Why did I let her in? The house is unbearably silent. Sophia's absence echoes through every empty corner. Stare at the spot on the bed where she used to sleep. The pillow still indented from her head. The emptiness beside me feels like a canyon, wide and impossible to cross. After what feels like hours of staring at the emptiness, force myself to move. Can't just sit there, drowning in what I lost. Have to do something, even if I don't know what that something is. Make my way downstairs, expecting to find Amy asleep on the couch. But instead, she's sitting at the kitchen table. She's found an old hoodie of mine, wrapped it around herself, her hair messy, her eyes swollen from crying. She looks up when I enter the room, her gaze searching my face for something. Maybe forgiveness, maybe just acknowledgement. But I don't have anything to give her. Morning, she says softly. Her voice barely more than a whisper. She tries to smile, but it looks forced, strained. Ignore her. Move to the counter to start the coffee machine. Need something to cut through the exhaustion. Something to focus on, besides the mess of emotions still swirling inside me. Daniel, I know you're angry with me, Amy continues, her voice cracking slightly. I know you probably hate me. I wouldn't blame you if you did. Can feel her eyes on my back, waiting for a response. But don't turn around. The coffee machine hums, filling the room with the smell of brewing coffee. But it does nothing to ease the tension. Amy, I don't have time for this, I say finally. My voice rough from the long night. Turn around. Lean against the counter. Cross my arms over my chest. I'm not here to hash out old wounds. You asked for a place to stay, and I gave you one night. That's all. Her face falls. She looks down at her hands, twisting them together nervously. I understand, she whispers, but I need to tell you why I came here. Why it had to be you, sigh, rubbing a hand over my face. Amy, I really don't care about your reasons. You made your choices and I moved on. The words feel hollow even as I say them. How much had I really moved on? If I'm standing here letting her take up space in my life again? She shakes her head, her eyes welling up with tears once more. Please, Daniel, just listen. It's not just about Connor. It's about us, about everything I never told you. There's something in her voice, a desperation that goes beyond fear, something deeper, like regret. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to go back to that place, to the heartbreak and betrayal, to the endless nights wondering why I wasn't enough. You're too late, Amy, I say. My voice cold. Whatever you have to say, it doesn't change anything. You made your choice 5 years ago, and I made mine when I let you walk out of my life. You don't get to come back now and dig all of this up again. She flinches at my words, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Daniel, I know I hurt you. I know I destroyed everything we had. But I was scared. Connor made me feel like I had no choice. Like I had to be with him or I'd be nothing. And now he's worse, Daniel. He threatened me. He said if I left, he'd find me. That he'd hurt me. Her voice cracks. She buries her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. Part of me wants to believe her, want to see her as the victim in all this. But another part of me, the part that still remembers, the way she looked at Connor at our housewarming party, can't help but wonder if she's just spinning another lie, another excuse to get what she wants. She had always been good at that, making herself the victim, making me feel like I had to save her. Amy, you need to understand something, I say, my voice hardening. You being scared doesn't erase what you did to me. It doesn't make it okay that you walked out without a word. That you left me to pick up the pieces while you ran off with him. Can see my words cutting into her, her face crumpling. But I don't stop. I loved you. I would have done anything for you. And you threw it all away. You chose him, Amy. And now you want me to save you from that choice? She looks up at me, her eyes wide, her face pale. I know, she whispers. I know I don't deserve your help. But I'm begging you, Daniel. I don't have anyone else. Her voice breaks. She looks at me with a kind of hopelessness. That twists something inside me. But I force myself to stay firm. I take a deep breath. Let the silence stretch between us. Before I speak, you can stay until you figure out where to go. But that's it. I'm not getting involved in your mess with Connor. You need to understand that the words are final, a line I'm drawing between us, a boundary I'm not going to let her cross again. Amy nods, her tears still falling. But she doesn't say anything else. She just looks down at her hands, her shoulders hunched, as if the weight of everything had finally broken her. I watch her for a moment, feeling a mix of pity and anger. Pity for the woman she had become. Anger for the way she had dragged me back into her chaos. The coffee machine beeps. Turn away from her. Pull myself a cup. The warmth of the mug in my hands grounds me. Reminds me that I'm still here. Still standing. Despite everything that happened in the last 12 hours. Despite Amy being here. Despite Sophia walking out. I'm still breathing. Take a sip. Let the bitterness wash over me. Giving me something to focus on. Besides the ache in my chest. Hear Amy stand up. Her footsteps soft against the kitchen floor. She pauses in the doorway. Her voice barely a whisper. Thank you, Daniel. I mean it. I know I don't deserve it, but thank you. Don't respond. Can't. Instead, keep my eyes on my coffee, listening as her footsteps move away, fading into the distance. Stand there for a long time, the silence settling back in, the emptiness of the house pressing down on me. Strange how, in a matter of hours, everything I thought was solid in my life had come undone, and now I'm left standing in the wreckage, with no idea how to put the pieces back together again. Leave the house that afternoon. Need air. Need to get away from the oppressive weight of everything that happened. Walk through the neighborhood, my steps heavy, my mind replaying every word, every tear, every slammed door from the night before. The weather is crisp, the kind of bright autumn day that would usually lift my spirits, but today it feels like the world is mocking me, all sunlight and laughter. While I'm unraveling, end up at a coffee shop a few blocks away, order another black coffee, more out of habit than anything. Take a seat by the window. My phone sits on the table in front of me. Keep glancing at it, hoping for a message, a missed call, something from Sophia. But the screen remains dark, empty. Stupid to think she'd reach out. After everything she'd said, the way she looked at me, not sure if she'd ever come back, the thought sends a pang of loss through me. So sharp that it's almost physical. The doorbell chimes. Look up absently. My eyes catch on a familiar face. A face that shouldn't be here? Connor. He just walked into the coffee shop, his eyes scanning the room, his face twisted in that confident smirk. I remember all too well. My heart skips a beat. What the hell is he doing here? He hasn't seen me yet. Watch as he moves towards the counter, ordering a drink, his demeanor relaxed, casual, like he doesn't have a care in the world, and it makes my blood boil. This is the guy Amy left me for. This is the guy who had supposedly turned into a nightmare for her, who was out to hurt her. He looks far too smug, too comfortable to be the monster Amy painted. Don't think. Just stand up, my chair scraping against the floor. Walk straight over to him. He looks up, startled. For a second, his eyes widen in recognition. Then that smirk returns. He leans back, crossing his arms over his chest. Well, if it isn't Daniel, he drawls, his voice dripping with arrogance. Didn't think I'd run into you here? What are you doing here, Connor? I ask. My voice low, barely restrained. Can feel the tension coiling in my muscles. My fists clenched at my sides. The thought of him showing up like this, the possibility that he came looking for Amy, it set something off inside me. Just grabbing a coffee. Why am I not allowed to be here? He raises an eyebrow, the smirk never leaving his face. He's playing with me, taunting me. Feel a rush of anger. Haven't felt in years. The kind of anger that's been buried. Since Amy left, Amy told me what's been going on, I say. Take a step closer, my voice barely a whisper. She's afraid of you, Connor. She said you've been threatening her. His expression changes, just for a second. A flicker of annoyance, of something darker crosses his face. Then he laughs, a cold, empty sound. Oh, she told you that, did she? He leans forward, his voice dropping. Amy always was good at spinning her little stories. Making herself the victim? He shakes his head, a sneer twisting his lips. Let me guess. She's staying with you, isn't she? running back to her old safety net. His words hit me like a punch. The casual way he dismisses her fear. The way he talks about her, like she's just some problem to be dealt with. It makes my skin crawl. But more than that, it makes me question everything Amy said. Was she lying? Was this just another manipulation? Don't want to believe it. But the way Connor speaks, the way he seems to know exactly how to twist the knife, it leaves a doubt I can't shake. Get out of here, Connor, I say, my voice shaking. Just leave her alone. Whatever happened between you two, it's over. He laughs again, a cruel smile on his face. Oh, you think it's that simple? You think you can just step in and play hero again? He leans in, his eyes narrowing. Amy's made her bed, Daniel. And you're a damn fool if you think she's changed. She's always been like this. Running when things get hard. Playing people off each other to get what she wants. Clench my jaw. My hands balling into fists. Want to hit him. Want to wipe that smug expression off his face. But know that would solve nothing. Would just make everything worse. And it wouldn't help Amy. Wouldn't bring Sophia back. Connor must have seen something in my face, because his smirk widens. He takes a step back, raising his hands as if in surrender. Fine, whatever. I'll leave you two to your mess. Just remember, Daniel, people don't change. You'll see that soon enough. With that, he turns, walks out of the coffee shop, leaving me standing there, my heart pounding, my mind racing. Stand there for a long moment, staring at the door, trying to make sense of everything he said, trying to piece together the truth from the lies. Go back to my table, sink into the chair, my coffee now cold and forgotten. Connor's words echo in my mind. She's always been like this. The doubt gnaws at me, growing with every passing second. Had Amy really changed? Or was this just another game? Another manipulation to get what she wanted? Think about Sophia, about the way she looked at me when she left. The anger and hurt in her eyes. She had seen it, hadn't she? She had seen what I was too blind to notice. That Amy was still the same, still capable of destroying everything in her path. And I had let her in, had let her sit in my house, sleep under my roof. And now I don't even know if any of it was real. Had to get back, had to know whether it was true, whether Amy had lied to me again, whether I was just a pawn in whatever twisted game she was playing. Leave the coffee shop, my mind spinning, my heart pounding with mix of fear and anger. When I get home, the door is slightly ajar, creaking open as I push it. My stomach tightens with dread. Amy? I call out. Step inside. The house is eerily quiet, the air thick with tension. Walk into the living room, my eyes scanning the space. That's when I see her, sitting on the floor, surrounded by old photos, her face streaked with tears. She looks up at me, startled. Daniel, I didn't mean to go through your things, she says, her voice trembling. I found these and I couldn't help it. She holds up a photo, one of me and Sophia, taken on our honeymoon. We looked so happy, so carefree. Feels like a lifetime ago. Why are you doing this, Amy? I ask. My voice raw. Can feel the anger, the confusion boiling over. Why are you here? What do you really want from me? She stares at me, her eyes filled with tears, her hands trembling. I don't know, Daniel, she whispers. I thought I needed you. I thought you were the only one who could help me. But now I see what I've done. I've ruined everything. I've hurt you again? And I didn't even mean to. Her voice breaks. She looks down at the photo, her shoulders shaking. Want to believe her. Want to think that she's being sincere. That the tears are real. That the regret is genuine. But Connor's words echo in my mind, and the doubt won't leave. People don't change. Kneel down. Pick up the photos. My hands shaking. You need to leave, Amy, I say. My voice breaking. You can't stay here anymore. I can't do this again. I can't lose everything because of you? She looks up at me, her face crumpling. For a moment, I see the old Amy, the one I had loved, the one I had wanted to spend my life with. But that Amy was gone. She had been gone for a long time, and all that was left was this broken shell, this chaos that she brought with her wherever she went. Where will I go? She asks. Her voice barely a whisper. Shake my head. Standing up, the weight of everything pressing down on me. I don't know, Amy, but you can't stay here. I need to fix what's left of my life, and I can't do that with you here. She doesn't say anything else. She just nods, her tears falling silently, as she begins to gather her things, and I stand there watching, my heart breaking all over again. This time not just for her, but for everything she had taken from me, and everything I had lost, because I had let her back in. The next few hours pass in a blur. Stand in the doorway, watching Amy pack up the few things she'd brought with her. Her movements are slow, hesitant, as if she's hoping I might change my mind at the last second. Tell her she could stay. that we could somehow make sense of this mess. But I stay silent, my arms crossed, leaning against the frame. My resolve holding, even though every second feels like it's pulling me apart. The sun has started to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the room. Amy zips up her bag, her eyes flickering to mine, filled with something that looks a lot like regret. She opens her mouth, maybe to say goodbye, maybe to plead one last time. But I shake my head before she can even start. Amy, there's nothing left to say, I murmur. My voice heavy. You need to go, and you need to let me go too. We're done. My words are like lead in my mouth. But force them out. They're necessary. Maybe the only thing that can truly bring this chapter to an end. She nods, tears glistening in her eyes. For the first time, she doesn't argue. She takes a shaky breath, her shoulders slumping. And then she walks to the door. There's a moment where she pauses, her hand on the knob, as if she's trying to hold on to something. An apology left unsaid, a memory still clinging to life. But there's nothing left between us. Not anymore. She opens the door. For a second, the cool evening air sweeps in, chilling the room. And then just like that, she's gone. The door clicks shut behind her. Stand there staring at the spot where she had been, feeling an emptiness that's almost staggering. It isn't like the heartbreak from before. Not the sharp, immediate pain of losing her to someone else. No, this is different. Quieter. Deeper. Like standing in the ruins of a home you once knew. Move to the window, looking out just in time to see Amy's figure disappear down the street. Swallowed by the shadows. Let out a long breath, one I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Turn away, letting the curtain fall back in place. The house feels too quiet. Too still. The weight of everything that happened presses down on me. The echoes of Sophia's voice, the anger, the disappointment. I had lost her, and the realization is almost too much to bear. My eyes scan the living room, see something I hadn't noticed before. A photograph half hidden under the couch, where Amy had been sitting. Bend down, pull it free, feel a lump rise in my throat. It's a picture of me and Sophia from last Christmas. We're sitting by the tree, her in one of those ridiculous winter sweaters I always made fun of, but secretly loved. I'm holding her close, and we're both laughing. The kind of unfiltered joy that seems impossible to recapture now. Sink down onto the couch, staring at the photo, my vision blurring. Everything I had done, every decision I had made in the past 24 hours, had led me to this point, alone, holding onto a memory that was slipping further away with each passing second. My phone buzzes on the coffee table, snapping me out of my thoughts. Pick it up, my heart jumping into my throat. When I see Sophia's name flash on the screen, a text? Just one line, simple but enough to make my chest tighten. I'm coming by tomorrow to get the rest of my things. Please don't be here. Read it once, then twice, the words stabbing into me with brutal clarity. There's no anger in her message, no accusations, just the cold finality of her decision. She's done with me, and there's nothing left for me to say. That could change her mind. Want to reply? Want to beg her to let me explain, to tell her that I sent Amy away, that I want her back more than anything. But what good would it do? Sophia had given me her trust, and I had shattered it by letting Amy back in. She had asked me to choose, and in my hesitation, I had chosen wrong. Type out a message? My hands shaking. I understand, I'm sorry. It's all I can say. Maybe all she'd let me say? Hit send. The words feeling hollow and empty. Place the phone back on the table. For a moment, all I can do is sit there, staring at the floor, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. The hours blur together. Can't sit still. Can't stay in that living room, surrounded by everything Sophia and I had built together. Pace the house, my footsteps echoing in the silence. Eventually find myself in our bedroom. The closet still open. Sophia's half of it empty. Her clothes and shoes gone. Walk over, my fingers brushing against the few hangers that remained. The emptiness of the space, like a hollow ache in my chest. There are still little reminders of her everywhere. A book on the nightstand, the scent of her perfume lingering in the air. A pair of earrings she must have left behind in her rush to pack. Pick up the earrings, turning them over in my hands, the metal cool against my skin. The realization hits me then. Sudden and brutal, she's really gone. Not just for the night, not just to blow off steam, but really, truly gone. And all because I couldn't let go of the past. Because I had let Amy's tears and regret manipulate me into making the wrong choice. Sink down onto the edge of the bed, the earrings still in my hand, and for the first time since all of this started. Let myself break. The tears come slowly at first, then faster, until I'm sobbing, my shoulders shaking. The weight of everything too much to hold in. I had lost the woman I loved, because I hadn't been strong enough to let go of someone who had already destroyed me once. When the tears finally stop, feel drained, empty. Look at the earrings in my hand. then place them gently on the nightstand. Can't keep doing this. Holding on to pieces of people who were no longer part of my life. Had to let go, not just of Amy, but of the version of myself that had always wanted to save her, that had always been willing to sacrifice everything for someone who didn't deserve it. Stand up, wiping my face with the back of my hand. Walk out of the bedroom. The house is still and silent, but for the first time, it doesn't feel like it's closing in on me. It's empty, yes, but maybe that's what I needed. A blank slate, a chance to rebuild from the wreckage. Make my way to the front door, opening it. Stepping outside, the night air is cool, crisp, and it feels like I can finally breathe. Stand there for a long moment, looking up at the stars, letting the quiet of the night wash over me. Don't know what's going to happen next, if Sophia will ever come back, if I'll ever find a way to make things right again. But for the first time, feel like I can move forward. Like I can finally let go of the ghosts that have haunted me for so long. Amy is gone. Sophia is gone. At least for now. And all that's left is me, alone. But maybe, just maybe, ready to start over. The morning comes quietly. The kind of stillness that makes me feel like even time itself is holding its breath. Haven't slept? Instead spent the night on the couch, staring blankly at the ceiling, trying to prepare myself for what's about to happen. Sophia had texted she'd come by today to get her things, and I know that means I have to make myself scarce. Get up, my body aching from the uncomfortable position. Rub a hand across my face. Can still feel the exhaustion tugging at me. But the thought of seeing Sophia, of having to look her in the eyes and watch her walk out of my life for good, is enough to propel me into action. Need to leave before she arrives. Can't put either of us through more pain than I already have. Move around the house mechanically, picking up my keys, my phone, anything I might need for the next few hours. There's a strange calm in the house, a quietness that I know won't last long. It's the calm before the final storm. Write a note for Sophia, placing it on the kitchen counter, where I know she'll see it. Just simple. I'll be out. I'm sorry for everything. Feels hollow. But what more could I say? She deserves more than an apology. But it's all I have left to give. Before I can second-guess myself, walk out the front door, the morning sunlight blinding me for a moment. Stand there on the porch. The door closed behind me. Take a deep breath, then turn and leave. Not daring to look back. Don't have a destination in mind. Just drive, letting the streets and stoplights guide me. The city is waking up. People walking their dogs, heading to work, going about their lives as if everything is normal. Envy them their simplicity, the way they move forward, unaware of the unraveling that had happened in my home over the last 2 days. Eventually find myself at a park. Used to go here when Sophia and I first started dating. It's a small, quiet place with a path that circles a lake, benches placed every few yards for people to sit and watch. The ducks glide across the water, pull into the parking lot, shutting off the engine. Just sit there for a while, the memories washing over me. Remember bringing Sophia here on a crisp fall afternoon, just like this one. When we'd barely been together for a few months, she had brought a picnic, complete with a red and white checkered blanket, and a basket filled with pastries and coffee. We had spent hours talking, laughing, feeding bits of bread to the ducks, until the sun set, and the sky turned that soft pinkish purple. Remember thinking right then that I could spend the rest of my life with her. Close my eyes, swallowing the lump in my throat. Strange the way one person could change everything. One decision, letting Amy back into my life, had shattered everything I had built with Sophia. Had thought I was doing the right thing, that I was being compassionate, but realized now that I had been selfish, been holding on to a past that had no place in my present. And in doing so, I had lost the one person who truly mattered. Get out of the car, walk down to the lake, finding a bench that's still wet with dew. Don't care. Sit down. The cold seeping through my jeans. Watch the water, the ducks bobbing lazily in the ripples. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Pull it out, heart skipping a beat. When I see it's from Sophia. I'm here. Just wanted you to know. Can picture her in the house, moving around, gathering up her things. The life we had built together, slowly being dismantled piece by piece. The thought hurts, really hurts, but I know she deserves the space to do this on her own. Can't be there, standing in the doorway, watching her pack away her life. It isn't fair to her. It isn't fair to either of us. Type out a response, my fingers trembling. Okay, take your time. Hit send and stare at the screen, waiting though I don't know what for. Some sign that things will be okay. Some message that she still loves me. No, I won't get that. Not now. Maybe not ever. Put my phone away. Lean back on the bench. Close my eyes against the brightness of the morning sun. The wind rustles the leaves overhead. Let myself listen to the sound. Let it calm me. There's a kind of finality in today. Sophia is taking the last of her things, And I have to let her go. Have to let go of everything. Not sure how much time passes, but eventually my phone buzzes again. Pull it out, my stomach tightening. See another message from Sophia. I'm done. I left my keys on the counter. Take care of yourself, Daniel. The words are like a knife, sharp and painful, cutting through me with a precision. I can't fight. Take care of yourself. Feels so distant, so final. Want to ask her to stay, to fight for what we had. But no, it's pointless. She had given me every chance, and I had thrown them away. Type out a response. You too, Sophia, I'm sorry. Stare at the message for a long time. Before hitting send, feels like goodbye. And maybe that's what it is. Not just to Sophia, but to everything I had hoped for, everything I had tried to hold on to. The park is still quiet. The lake still. And I let myself breathe in the crisp air. Let it fill my lungs. Let it cleanse me. In a way I hadn't allowed myself before. Had lost so much. But maybe that was the point. Maybe losing everything was the only way I could finally figure out who I was without Amy. Without Sophia. Without anyone to define me but myself. The sun is higher now. Warming the air. Stand up. Brushing the dew from my jeans. Walk back to the car. My steps slow but steady. Get in. Starting the engine. Don't know where I'm going. But for the first time, that feels okay. Pull out of the parking lot. Driving away from the park. From the memories. From everything that had brought me here. Don't know what the future holds. But maybe that's the point. Maybe it's time to find out. The house is quiet when I return. The emptiness has a different weight to it now. It's final. No longer just a pause, but an ending. Step inside. My eyes instinctively flick to the spot where Sophia's keys had always hung. The sight of the empty hook hits me like a punch. She's really gone. And this is my reality now. Close the door behind me. Lean against it for a moment, letting the silence settle over me. The air still smells faintly of her, of vanilla and jasmine. Her favorite perfume. And something else. Something warm and familiar. That makes my chest ache. Want to hold on to that scent? To breathe it in forever. But know it will fade. Just like everything else. Force myself to move. One foot in front of the other. Step by step into the living room. The couch is empty, but can almost see her there, curled up with a book. Her face lighting up when I walked in. Turn away, unable to bear it. Walk into the kitchen. The note I had left for her, still on the counter, untouched. Crumple it in my hand, tossing it into the trash. It's too late for notes, for apologies that were never enough. Make myself some coffee. The simple routine grounding me in the present. The sound of the machine, the warmth of the mug in my hands. It's something solid, something real. And I cling to it, take a deep breath, leaning against the counter, staring out the window at the backyard. It looks the same as it always has, but it feels different now, like it belongs to someone else. Don't recognize this life anymore. Don't recognize the person I've become over the last few days. Carry my coffee to the dining table, sit down, staring at the empty chair across from me. This is where Sophia and I shared countless dinners, where we laughed and talked, and planned our future, and now it's just me, alone with nothing but memories. That hurt too much to hold on to. My phone buzzes on the table. Reach for it, my heart jumping for a moment, hoping, always hoping, despite everything, that it might be Sophia, but it isn't. It's a message from an unknown number. Daniel, it's Amy. I just wanted to say thank you for everything. I know I messed up. I'm sorry for all the pain I caused. I'm going to try to make things right for myself finally. I hope you can find happiness too. Stare at the message, a strange mix of emotions welling up inside me. Anger, sadness, pity, but mostly I feel exhausted. Amy had always been like this, making her mistakes and then trying to apologize, as if that could fix everything, as if words could undo all the damage. Want to be angry with her, but can't. She's as lost as I am. And maybe that's why I let her in again, because some part of me thought I could save her, even when I couldn't save myself. Put the phone down, not bothering to reply. There's nothing left to say to Amy. She had been a chapter in my life that I had to close. And I finally had tried to save her once, but I couldn't do it again, not at the cost of everything else. I had learned that lesson the hard way, and now it was time to move forward. Finish my coffee, the house still quiet around me. There's a kind of emptiness that I'm starting to get used to, an emptiness that I know I'll have to fill somehow. Can't keep living like this, clinging to the past, to ghosts that don't belong in my life anymore. Stand up, taking the mug to the sink, and then I pause. There on the windowsill is a small potted plant, a succulent that Sophia had bought on a whim at the farmer's market months ago. It was the kind of plant that was supposed to be impossible to kill, but I had never been good at keeping things alive. It had started to wilt, its leaves turning brown, and I realized with a pang of regret that I hadn't even noticed it before. Pick up the pot, cradling it in my hands. It's still alive. Barely. And I know I could save it. If I tried, turn on the tap, letting the water run over the soil, watching as it soaks in, the leaves slowly plumping up again. It's such a small thing, but it feels like a start. Like maybe, just maybe, I could still fix something in my life. Set the plant back on the windowsill, letting it catch the morning sunlight. Look around the kitchen, at the life that Sophia and I had built together. It's over, but that doesn't mean everything is lost. I still have the pieces, even if they're broken, and maybe it's up to me to decide what to do with them. Walk through the house, room by room, picking up the remnants of our life together. Sophia's book on the nightstand, her earrings on the dresser, the holiday photo we had taken, gather them all, placing them in a box, then sit down. Staring at it felt like a goodbye, one that I wasn't ready for, but one that I needed. Carry the box to the closet, setting it on the top shelf. Out of sight. Not ready to throw those memories away, but I couldn't keep them in front of me, couldn't keep holding on to something. That wasn't mine anymore. Take a deep breath, letting the air fill my lungs, and then let it out slowly. It's time to start over. Time to let go of Amy, of Sophia, of the man I had been, and figure out who I am now. The road ahead is uncertain, but maybe that's okay. Maybe the only way to truly move forward is to accept the uncertainty, to embrace it, and to let myself grow. Grow from the wreckage. Walk back to the kitchen, glancing at the little plant on the windowsill. Its leaves already starting to look greener, and for the first time in what feels like forever, allow myself a small, tentative smile.